I know I was born for this. Don't care for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I believe we can write our story.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are you doing today? My name is Gary Wise. This is Words from the Wise, Wise Leadership Solutions, and thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate everybody that supports us. It's been a big day for us here at Wise Leadership Solutions. Just found out today we just crossed 500,000 views, which is huge. We've now got 200 subscribers, I believe, on the YouTube channel. We started with 0. Matter of fact, I think we were like -5 when we started this thing. We do not know what we're doing. We're figuring out as we go, but it's fun. It's a creative outlet. We really appreciate y'all. A couple of things. Number one, this podcast is sponsored by Wise Leadership Solutions. So if you're in North Central Florida, if you're interested in leadership, if you want to talk organizational leadership, we can help you out with that. Please hit me up offline. We'll see what we can do for you. Also, Ocala South Church of Hope, or out in Southern Ocala, Church of Hope. That's where I lay my head. That's the congregation that I'm blessed to be a part of. Please check us out. We're going to 3 services there on Sundays, and we're standing up the primetime service for middle school age children. I'm blessed to be a part of that. So super excited to work with your kids there. Please let me know if you want any more information about that. And then last but not least, the Vanguard High School Navy Junior ROTC, the Knights Battalion. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for representing. And I really appreciate y'all paying attention to our podcast and the support. Now, today I have a shipmate of mine who served with me on board the USS Ashland LSD-48 out of Sasebo, Japan, from 2016 until 2018. This brother, he stood tall with me on the deck plates. He ran the deck department on board the ship, and I watched him go from senior chief to master chief petty officer. He is none other than Mr. Jeffrey Brooks. So, JB, what's up, man?
Hey, brother, how's things going?
Oh, man, it's going pretty freaking good. I'd be lying if I said it would, man. It's blessed.
That's good. That's good. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, man. I am looking forward to this conversation just because 24 months on board the ship went super fast for me. I think you did the full 3 years on board the ship, and so you might have some other perspectives as well, which I'm excited to hear. But I also want to share your story with the crew, with my cadets, and with the listeners, because your story's awesome, man. From your grandma, your grandpa, from just everything you've gone through in your life, right? I remember talking to you in the Chiefs mess. You were always a solid listener, a solid advice giver, and one of my favorite sea stories, and we'll tell it later. I don't want to tell it quite yet, but it includes you. So, JB, if you don't mind, before we get started, I'd like to say a quick word of prayer.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, hey, it's me and Jeff. We really appreciate you, Lord. Appreciate the blessings you've given us, our families, our wives, our kids. Appreciate the chance we've got to travel to see the world. Appreciate the people that's been in our lives that made sure that we got to where we needed to be, and that we learned the things we need to learn to grow into the men that we become today. Lord, I'd ask that you just bless us in this conversation, that our tongues can be guided, our words can be solid, we can stand true, and hopefully everybody knows that listens to the sound of our voice that it's just meant to be a good conversation between a couple of people that are trying their best in this world. Thank you, Lord, in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. I say that, brother, because, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the opportunity for you to be here. And I know how crazy life can be. And so I just thank you for that. And it's a blessing to see you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If y'all can't tell, this man is wearing an Alabama hat. He may be top 3 of the biggest Alabama fans in my life that I've ever met. All 3, as a matter of fact, were on the crew of the USS Ashland at the same time. It was the bosun, it was Jeff, and it was Mac, who is now currently a Master Chief in Bahrain. But these guys are freaking Bama fans. And roll tide all day long. I'm talking like losing sleep over this team. And
yeah,
so
we actually got to catch some games together with all 3 of us.
Yeah, you guys have been in person to see the games. That's amazing. That's shipmates, bro. That's real shipmates, right? That actually get together off the deck plates and make things happen in life. That's awesome. Uh, Jeff, what part of Alabama did you grow up in?
Small town, Fort Payne, Alabama. It's up in the northeast corner. Best known for the band Alabama. And once upon a time, it was the sock capital of the world. If you wore socks, odds are they were from my hometown at one point.
That's very cool. And so when you say small town, like what do you mean? You mean like one school, like all three elementary, middle school, and high school are in the same building? Or is
No,
it
we weren't that small. We had everything was split. We had three different separate schools. Right, it was a decent size, but compared to what I've grown accustomed to over the last 20 plus years, it's definitely a small town.
yeah. So growing up as a kid in Alabama, in that small town in Alabama, what was that like? Was it, I mean, barefoot, chasing, stuff through the swamp? Is it swampy there like it is in Florida?
No, no, not at all. It was wooded, right? Like a lot of
Okay.
wooded areas. It's all I knew at the time, right? Riding four wheelers, dirt bikes, go karts, stuff like that. Growing up, but it wasn't back country roads. You know what I mean? We had more than one or two red lights at least. You know what I mean? We had
Yeah.
several. We made it big time when we got a super center Walmart, right? But
There you go.
but I couldn't have asked for a better growing up, right? I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Raised by my grandparents there, so I was able to learn a lot and really experience a lot growing up there.
So growing up with your grandma and grandpa, were you like an only child in the house, or did you have like brothers and sisters in the house too?
No, it was only me. I had a half brother that was with my mom. My aunt. She was, a few years older than me, but we grew up like brother and sister for a while. And but yeah, for as long as I can remember, it was just me and them.
Okay. What was it like as a high school teenager, as a person getting ready to graduate? Because as a dad, now we're both parents of teenage boys. In particular, both of our older sons are very similar in age, 17, 18 time frames, and they're getting ready to do things after high school, which is a weird space to be in as a dad, right? Like it's become it's weird, right? Our kids are getting to be older. I've always asked parents of adults, like, what's it like to be a dad of an adult, right? Because we've never been there. But what were you thinking about, like, 10, 11th, 12th grade when you were looking at life? Did you know that you were going to up and join the service, or did you have other ideas of things? Like, were you a big athlete in high school? I mean, what did you think you wanted to do?
So earlier on, I played sports, but then I got a job and I enjoyed making money. So I didn't play sports so much. I worked 40 hours a week my last 2 years in high school. So I had a full time job. The plan was college. The military was nowhere in the stratosphere of anything I was planning on doing. For as long as I could remember, um, it was college and then law school, right? I wanted to be a lawyer.
I remember
And,
that.
you know, my grandmother was learning how to play around on the internet at the time, and she saw something that said $40,000 for school, and she didn't pay attention to what it said. It just said $40,000 for school. Well, she clicked on it and put all my information, and lo and behold, it was the Navy. So that's kind of how I ended up, getting contacted. And I told them no for a long time. Like there was no way.
So did you end up graduating high school and start college, or did they catch up to you before you graduated?
They didn't catch up to me until after I graduated. I'd graduated, I went to spring break, but I'd taken my foot off the gas, and I didn't do the things I needed to do to make sure I was ready to go to school. Right. So um, when they kept calling, finally I was like, all right, I'll listen. I'll see what you have to offer. And then they were talking money for school. They were talking college credits. They were talking all this stuff. And I came in the Navy to be a legalman, right? I had a guaranteed A school to be a legalman. And I was like, well, I'll go do that and I'll learn some stuff and I'll figure some things out. And then and then I'll go to school.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it turned out.
Okay, so interesting. We're gonna get to that part. I do remember the lawyer conversation, and I love when you said, "Hey, I'll listen to you," because definitely that is 100% your methodology, right? You are, God bless you. You don't. I think you forget how big you are because you're a tall human being, right? And you don't come. You don't mean to come across as like imposing or like whatever it is. But you mean, all right, I'll listen to you. But you get that little lit thing in your eye, and you get that little cock in your head, and and I can see you. I'll listen to it, but you do listen. You always listen, and I appreciate that about you. You're a great listener, and so you hear them. I can appreciate the legal men idea because I get that makes sense. I would agree with it. Why not, Jeff? Go do legal men, become a paralegal, get some money for college, and come back. Go to see if you like it. So, do you go to boot camp? First off, how was boot camp? Did you mind it? Did you hate it? Did you like it?
Boot camp was fine. I didn't. I went to boot camp 1 week to the day after 9/11. Right, so it
Wow.
was an experience, right? But boot camp was boot camp. I kept my head down as long as nobody knew my name. I thought I was doing a good job.
Yeah.
I think I did what a lot of people do is I made my way through it. You know what I mean?
Did
And
you regret that when you got through boot camp, wishing that like just keeping your head down and getting through it?
No, not really, because I'll be honest with you, that that's kind of who I am, right? I'd rather just put my head down and do things that I need to do. And I had to grow out of that quite a bit, obviously, as my career progressed. But to my core, that's what who I would rather be is just somebody that can bust it out and move on, right?
I just asked that because I had the exact same plan. I was gonna go through boot camp. I don't even want to know my name. Then at the end of it, I'm seeing these guys have these relationships with the drill commanders, and I'm like, I don't have that relationship because they didn't know me. And there was a part of me that wished I'd like, and like you said, I had to grow out of that eventually because I'd miss opportunities because I wasn't trying to raise my hand. I wasn't trying to step out and say, "Hey guys, pick me, pick me." I just either I was for you or I wasn't, and there you go, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious that so you go to boot camp, you get through boot camp, and you have a legalman A school still, or did that already
Yeah,
change?
so I had to go to the fleet first. It was called GTEP program, right, where you had to do 12 to 18 months, whatever, right? They kind of sold me on that, right? So whatever, I went, and my first ship was the Ponce. It was an LPD out of Virginia,
Mhm.
and but what nobody told me was I had to know how to type 40 words a minute when it came to the prerequisite to go to school. So I'm doing what I need to do, right? Working, doing whatever deck seamen do. And it comes time to start doing all my prerequisites for school. And they're like, hey, you got to take this typing test. What? So I have not practiced. I took a typing class in school that we used to have to take when you were in high
Yeah,
school, but that's all. That was it.
yeah. I
So
mean,
I got close, but I started liking Bosame stuff. I was qualified. I had all this stuff. Third class exam was coming up quick, and I was like, I'm gonna take third class test. I'm gonna see what happens.
what did you like? Did you like? Did you like the Ponce? I mean, it sounds like you were doing good.
I did. I was on that ship for 5 years. I mean, look, your best command is always your next command, your last command, right? So you're never happy where you're at. But looking back on it now, I had the most growth at that command, right? It was probably the best experience I've ever had because first time away from home for that long, right? And a couple of deployments on there, a couple of in serves, a couple of this, a couple of that, right? And I learned a lot, right? I had some good leaders. I had one of them. He's still my mentor to this day, and he's been retired for. I think he retired in 2014, something like that, right? And I still reach out to him from time to time, and that's just the relationships you build.
Very cool. And I think that the other thing is look back at the day and time of the age, right? It's right after 9/11. Technology is starting to boom. Same with our operational schedule. And so, and you just said a powerful thing. What you said, I grew so much in that 5 years because if you think about it, I mean, did you leave that ship a second class?
I did. Yep. I left the second class. I was I was up for first the very next cycle after leaving. So
Exactly. So you went 5 pay grades in that period, that 5 years, right?
yep,
You will never be able to do that again in the service because for enlisted, there's only 4 more pay grades, period, right? Like there's
yeah,
just
yeah,
so so there's a and that's for young people. I watch these little kids coming into high school, freshmen. There's this little baby. And then 3, 4 years later, they're like dang near a grown man. And
yeah,
then I remember when I was in the fleet, I'd get this grown man and a little baby. Because in high school they're like, oh, they look like grown men against the other
yeah.
little kids. But
But they
when they
don't know
come
how to
to the
make adult
fleet,
decisions yet. Yeah, no, I got
no,
you.
they're kids, right? They're
Yeah,
immature, but they grow so fast in those 4 years. Like I think from 14 to 24, just that 8 years is like, holy crap, the amount of stuff they can learn and do. And if you do it right, you might get set up for the rest of your life. If you do it
yeah,
wrong, you might really be set back, you
yeah,
know? And that was just super powerful. And I'm saying that because a lot of my students will listen to this. And I think that was very powerful. That first 4 or 5 years, you doing anything, whether it's college, whether it's a job, could be the most important growth years of your life. Everything after that's almost a fight, right?
yeah.
It's almost a
Yep.
fight. Yeah. Okay. So you're on the Ponce. You having a good tour. It sounds like. Do you deploy?
I did deploy twice, '03 and '05. Good deployments, right? You know, nothing crazy, right? There's some stories to tell, but it was, I don't think it was anything extraordinary, right? We were out there doing what we needed to do. I think we did mine countermeasure operations on the first one, and on the second one, we did we stood guard on those oil platforms out there in the Gulf, right, in '05.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
um,
I know it
but
well. Chaos Nabot,
yep,
Meals on Keels. I
yeah,
did that in '06 when they blew up and on the
yeah.
Ogden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was the idiot out there on the rope swing, not realizing there was fish bigger than me that I probably needed to stay out of that water. But I was out there swinging off that thing like an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember thinking just like you, like we're out there doing Meals on Keels for the
Yep.
Navy defense teams or whatever it was. It was on those things. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is it, huh? This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't the worst place to be, you
Yeah.
know. And then we had like Iraqi Navy dudes, and it was like these guys are kind of strange, right?
I remember like my first deployment, '03, I was still a seaman, and I'm standing 12 hours of gun mount watch a day. I'm a mount captain on a 25 millimeter, and you know, I'm 12 hours of watch a day, right? 6 on, 6 off, and one of the 6 hours you're working, right?
Yeah.
And the chaplain would go around and he would take pictures of people and send them to their families, right? And I stood all this time on this big gun, and his picture of me was me sweeping the deck. I was so mad. I was like, "Come on, you could have got so much other stuff out of me
Yeah.
than this."
That's
But
horrible. That's
yeah,
horrible.
yeah,
Yeah. It's those are tough. Those are tough times for sure. So where was this ship out of? Were you out of Norfolk?
it was, yeah, out of Norfolk.
How did you like going from Alabama? I mean, Chicago, you barely got Liberty there. Then you were probably on your way somewhere else. How did you like Virginia as a young sailor?
I thought it was fine. I didn't know what I didn't know, so I sold my truck. I was like, man, I'm in the Navy. I'm gonna be in a ship. We're gonna be gone. We're at war, so I sold everything. I didn't have a truck. I sold it all, right? And I show up to the ship, and they just got back off deployment. And they're going in the yards. I'm like, well, crap. Now I've got no transportation. I'm walking everywhere. But I had people that I was in boot camp with from my sister division and from my division on the same ship. So we got together. We were close. Yeah. We're still close. We still share sea stories and, getting lost in Virginia Beach and all that stuff and trying to figure our way back. But I checked in on January 2nd, and it's like they forgot I was there when I first got there. Everybody's on leave, right? They just got back off deployment, and then they go on leave. They forgot I was there. It was a month before I knew anything, right? And I'm sitting at breakfast one day, and I'm watching. I see boot camp. I see people with beards and stuff. I didn't know anything about a no shave shit, so I'm like, man, maybe that's a boot camp thing. So I didn't shave, right, for a month. I'm sitting on the mess decks with a beard, and my LPO walks up to me and he's like, "What is your problem?" Right? And I'm like, "What are you talking about? That guy's got a beard. He's got one. What do you mean?" Right? And I didn't know. Nobody said anything. Right? And
I I don't feel so bad now for the times that either I've been forgotten or I might have found somebody who slipped through the cracks and just been like,
Yeah.
all right, everybody deserves some grace once in a while. It
Yeah.
just at least you didn't go out there and do something crazy and
Right.
cause
Yeah.
yourself
Well,
all kinds of trouble. Were you living
thank
on the
God I
ship?
had a good head on my shoulders.
Yeah. Were you living on the boat?
I was, yeah.
Okay. So at least you
Yeah.
had a place to stay. You're on the ship. You had some buddies from boot camp to hang
Yeah.
out with, if you will. Probably had some technology. Did you have a cell phone already at that time?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah.
I didn't get my first cell phone until I guess it was about that time because I was a recruiter. I'd got my first cell phone, but when I first joined the Navy, 90, there was no cell phones,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that right about that time was when cell phones were a big deal, right? You can go out and get a
Yeah.
Nextel and get a Black Blueberry or whatever it
Oh
was.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and you're in Little Creek, Virginia Beach,
No,
right?
no, we were in Norfolk. We were out of Norfolk. We were one of those few amphibs that weren't out of Little Creek.
Ooh, okay, so you're on that side of the Hampton Roads area.
Right.
Okay, did you live on the ship the entire time you were on that crew?
No, we got back off the deployment in '03, and some buddies, me and a couple of buddies, we kind of, we put our money together and we went and got a townhouse in Hampton, Virginia. Um, so just so we could spend some time off the ship, right?
Yeah,
Get away.
I get it. That's very, very important. Did you meet Sam during your first 5 years? Is that where you
I
met your
did.
wife?
I did. She was in college down in North Carolina, and met her through a guy that worked for me. And yeah, here we
Good, good,
are,
good.
21 years later.
So was it love at first sight?
I don't know. I don't know. We talked for a while. She's sitting over there laughing right now. I don't know if it was or not, but
I bet. I love your wife. She is hardcore. She's a
yeah,
go-getter. You guys are. I can relate because I also have a wife who's a motivator, so I can
yeah,
relate. Yeah. And so
yeah.
okay, so you guys meet. She's a college student. You're a sailor. You guys talked a whole bunch, and at the end of the 5 years, are you thinking, well, I didn't become a legal man. I'm gonna get out and go to college and become a freaking lawyer, or what?
So we had gotten engaged right before the '05 deployment, right? And I was going to get out, right? And then I was like, I didn't have anything figured out. It was kind of the same story from when I left high school.
Mhm.
I did good in high school. I had good grades, but I didn't do the things I needed to do to prepare myself to go to college, right?
Yeah.
So as the '05 deployment is coming and I'm engaged, and I'm like, well, here I haven't done the things I needed to do to prepare myself for the next thing. So I'm going to go. I made E5, right? I got capped at the time, right, to E5.
Good job.
And I was like, well, I mean, here I am. I made E5. I'm about to have a wife, right? We got to start a life together. So let me see what shore duty has, right? So I called the detailer, and I was like, hey, I want instructor duty. I want to be able to get my MTS, right? I don't care where it is. I don't care what it is. And he's like, well, I got the Naval Academy. I was like, I'll take it. I'm good. And that was next.
I remember that because you were driving those boats up there with all the midshipmen, and that
I
was
was
where
a
you
craft
got
master up there.
your.
Yeah,
That was
craft
where you
master
get
pin.
your
Yep.
craft. I remember that.
Yep.
I remember you telling me that story. Huge. And the freaking Naval Academy.
Yep.
Like that is for a regular. I've never even been to the Naval Academy as as a regular old sailor. I've been to the SEA. I've been to Newport for that little school, but I've never gone to somewhere like Annapolis. So, did you and Sam get married before you went there, or did you guys?
Yeah, we got married after that '05 deployment. We got on New Year's Eve, and then I didn't transfer until the January of '07 is when I transferred from the Ponce, and we took off to the Naval Academy.
Okay, so here you are, young couple coming out of Virginia, out of Hampton, going to Annapolis. First, like big move, first
Oh yeah.
change in scenery. That's got to be an exciting time.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know how to look for an apartment up there, right? So
Yeah.
I think I picked the absolute worst place I could possibly pick. But I remember when I got there and I'm checking in, and my chief is sitting down with me, and he's from the area, and he's like, "You want us to get you out of that lease? Are you sure you want to live there?" And I was like, I've signed it now. We're here for at least a year.
Yeah.
We're in this apartment for at least a year. So we
Yeah.
stuck it out, and it was okay. But yeah, it was not. It was not anything I was used to for sure, as far as from a safety standpoint.
Okay. And then, what was that job like going to the Naval Academy every day? I mean, you've been in the Navy now 5.5, 6 years, so you're probably about 24, 25 years
Yeah.
old. These midshipmen are about the same age as you, maybe a little younger, and you're
Yeah.
out there working with them on the boats every day, teaching them rules of the road, teaching them ship handling, right?
Yeah. So the qual process. So when I reported, uh, yet again, they're looking at me like, "Why are you here?" Right? It was kind of the same stories. Like you're supposed to be a first class. These are first class orders. You're an E5. I was like, I don't know. They get this. This is what I wanted. This is what they gave me. And they're like, "Well, you're going to be a craft master. You're going to have to do all these things. Can you handle it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can drive anything you put me on. Right? I'll be fine."
Yeah.
And so they put me through the pipeline, and that pipeline was no joke. Right?
Right.
You had I think it was 12 weeks at the time to qualify, and it's not just driving. Like, you had to know charts, you had to know how to do navigation, you had to know how to do all those things. And part of the qual ride was they throw a blanket over your head, and you have to navigate the channel using radar, right? And you have to do a precision anchorage. They simulate low vis with that blanket, and you're not seeing anything else. And they'll send other craft masters on their YPs to drive towards you, and you have to use the radar to arrange passing situations and all that stuff. So it was something else. It was definitely it was definitely a fun qual, and it was not easy for a second class to get it, for sure.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, I went through some hard times to get that qual on time.
I bet there was a lot of pressure, right? Like you said,
Oh, yeah.
they're already giving you grief because you're not a first class, even though you can't control that, right? You got the orders, you got the orders. Are they all BOSA mates as well, or are they also QMs and such?
Yeah, there's some quartermasters up there. We had one GM, but it was all there was a different story, but it was all the rest of us were BOSA mates and quartermasters, right?
Okay.
So, but
Well,
yeah,
I could see
I think
that.
that tour set me up big time.
Oh, I'm sure, because not only do you understand what the officers go through, at least in the Naval Academy, when it comes to preparing them for leadership at sea, especially up in the commanding office in the command.
Yeah.
I never got to see the pilot house till I was a CMC. Like, let's be honest, I'd go up there, jump out the draft report, and I'd leave. Right? I never hung around. And so, yes, you stood watch on the bridge. You're coming up as a sailor. Yes, you were both mate of the watch. Yes, you were all those things, but driving the ship's a little bit different, being like the con and doing all that other stuff. Vice just, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but I know there's a different perspective for the drivers of the ship versus the operators of the ship, right? And just a thought process. And then for you to go quickly into that pipeline and have number one, feel like the odds are against you. Feel like you're once again, they're not prepared for you, or you're not the guy. And then you've got to prove that you deserve this opportunity, or what they're going to send you to the fleet or whatever they're threatening you with.
Yeah. So they had a pretty much a sailboat division where you go over there and you get on these little sailboats with the Marines, and I didn't want to do, or with the midshipmen. I didn't want to do that. And for me, it was just an opportunity to show them I can do it. Right. It didn't really matter to me. I don't really care. About those things. Right. That's positive pressure as far as I'm concerned, right? Because I put more pressure on myself than what they're going to put on me anyway, right? I mean, at this time, I'm 23 years old. I got a wife to take care of, right? I don't.
Yeah.
Driving a boat and teaching some midshipmen how to navigate. That's okay. I can do that.
But you're very competitive, right? As much as you're stoic and as much as you're calm, you're very competitive.
Yeah.
And I know that about you, right? You're very competitive. And I mean, your first ship, the Ponce, you go there, you change directions because they didn't give you all the information. Because if you'd have known that, you probably would have smoked the test because you'd have prepared. But then what do you get? Capped at BM2, you're up for PO1. So you have a good first tour.
Yeah.
And you found success there, probably through consistent performance, sustained superior performance is what we tend to call
Sure.
the Navy, right? And that's what
Yeah.
that's probably what you're giving up, right? I just got a feeling. And now
Yep.
here you are, and not only are you competitive, but you said it's positive pressure, and you don't mind operating against the grind, right? Like, give me that pressure,
Yeah.
and you'll show them, right? And so I love that part about you. I love that part about anybody
Yeah.
because I relate, right? That's I feel like if you can connect somebody with an opponent that they can recognize they want to try to compete with or even beat, that you might find them even perform at a higher level than they ever thought they could perform at.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, for me, how easy is it to go somewhere that's already squared away, or how easy is it to go somewhere that's where there's no that's easy, right? But for me, I've been successful by being at places that need work, right? I'd prefer go somewhere and the person I'm relieving not even be there anymore, right? Because I don't need them feeling some type of way if I do it differently, right?
Yep.
And I'd prefer not be there when they show up either, when my relief shows up either, right? I mean, at least for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So
I get it. And you know what's funny about that statement is it feels like there's just everywhere. I don't know about you. Did you hear what Elon Musk said when he was at Doge? And he was like, well, I just got to aim at any wall, aim at the ceiling. Anywhere I throw the dart, I'm hitting stuff. I felt like that throughout my entire career. I don't think I ever went to one place where I felt like this place is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say this because I never leave anywhere perfect. You always want to leave it better than where you found it. But I've told people before, I wish one day I could just relieve myself, right? Because that would make things easier.
Man, but you're not wrong. I can relate. Again, I can relate to that as well. And yeah. So, okay. So you do your time at Annapolis. Is that a 3-year tour?
It was, yeah. Got my craft master, did some college, got MTS, made first. I was up for chief just as I was leaving. So
why'd you do college?
Well, at the time, right, that was the thing, right? You better have an associate's degree if you want to make chief. You better have a bachelor's if you want to make senior chief. All right, that was the thing. They wanted us all to feel like division officers at the time. At least that's the way I feel about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
agreed, brother. The whole reason I got my associate's degree is because exactly that. It was not because I gave a dang about going to get a college degree.
Yeah.
I got my bachelor's. Everyone else on Liberty. I stayed on the ship because number one, it gave me a reason to stay on the boat and not be out with people on Liberty. And for me, that was the protection because I just didn't trust anybody. Right. Yeah. I'd much rather just be by myself on the ship and be secure and know that I'm good. And so I did schoolwork. But once I retired from the service, I will tell you, I've had so many thankful moments that I got that college done. That is one thing I will say to that piece, right? Even though I begrudgingly did it because I didn't care about any of it. I love being a sailor. I didn't care about college.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a unique perspective. So you come out of there, you got your college, you got your master training specialist, you did everything you're supposed to do. Are you a BM1 at this point?
I am. Yeah, I'm BM1, about to be up for chief.
Are you thinking chief, or are you thinking LDO, or are you thinking warrant? What are you thinking?
So I never thought LDO, right? My mentor, my first senior chief on the Ponce was my mentor from the get-go. So senior chief, I thought that's what I need to be. That's what I'm supposed to be. That's what he was. So that's what I had my eyes on. And I never even had my eyes on master chief, right? I was like senior chief, right? That's what he was. He was an awesome senior chief. And that's what I've got my eye on. And when I left the Naval Academy, I left early. I left 6 months early so I could transfer with a ranked eval, right? And then and give me a full run at my next spot, right?
Okay.
And
sounds like you were getting good mentorship for sure, because that's strategy right there.
Well, yeah, and the way I looked at it, because I went to the Essex out of Sasebo, right? And I was like, well, the Naval Academy, I feel like set me up for chief, right? So I need to go somewhere that's going to set me up for senior chief, right?
Yeah.
Because, I didn't want to seem cocky. I never want to seem cocky, but I thought I had done enough to be competitive for chief on that shore duty, right? So now I need to go somewhere where I can be a senior chief.
100%. Man, I hope people listening to your words hear that part. And it's also like what you're doing right now should be what's going to get you the next goal. I prefer to be playing 2, 3 goals
Yep.
ahead
Yep.
because that way you're
Dude.
never resting on your laurels, right?
Yep.
For
Yep.
sure.
Sure.
Okay, so now you're going to go forward deployed, Sasebo, Japan,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We,
What-
so I talked to the wife, right? I saw
Okay.
that it was on there and I was like, hey, they got Japan, right? We can go to Japan. And she was about it. But as it got closer, I was like, man, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to go to Japan? Right. And we had
Yeah.
one young son, my oldest, he was going to be 1 by the time we transferred over there.
Okay.
And, you know, Samantha's younger than me, right? She's almost 4 years younger than me. So at the time I'm 25. So she's, you know, barely old enough to buy a beer, and she's about to take her first airplane flight to Japan, and with a 1-year-old, right? And I'm going to be gone 200 plus days a year for the next 3 years, right?
Did you know that op tempo before you took
Oh
the
yeah,
order?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'd talk to people, I'd ask questions, but you know, ultimately, you know, the Stressix was where I was needed to go, right? So
I get it. I understand. So, and I also understand the apprehension of going to Japan for the first time, especially with a family, especially with, I was blessed. My first ship was in Japan. So when I went back with Erica years later, I at least I knew what a Georgia coffee was, right? Like I
yeah,
had a little bit more experience because
yeah,
she was very nervous. And we had Hayden, of course, who was about 2. So
yeah.
I can relate. And we went to Yoko, but making that flight for the first time is something else. When you got
Oh,
off the bus in Fukuoka, was anyone there to pick you up, or did you have to ride the bus?
no, my sponsor was there. That's because I said, hey, man, you're going to come up here and pick me up, right? You're going to come up here. You're going to ride the bus. And because he's like, no, man, it's easy. I said, yeah, it's going to be easier because you're going to be there.
Very good.
And so he showed up. He was there. He got us down there. And yeah, that I'll tell you, man, the 2-hour flight from Tokyo to Fuke and then the 2-hour bus ride from Fuke to Sasebo, that's no joke, right? After 18-hour flight to Japan to begin with, right?
Yeah, and you wake up, you get there to that Navy Lodge, and you're down at the bottom of the horseshoe, and you're just like, why are the cars parked out there? And you get, the sun comes up at 4:30 in the morning. You're just like, what the heck?
Well, yeah, we had gotten there December 15th. What was it? 2009? Yeah, 2009, December 15th, 2009. So I mean, we're right up against Christmas, right? And yeah, it was. It was something else. It was cold. It was, you know,
it's a somber time to go overseas too, because your kid's watching Disney Junior or whatever it is. You're missing the family already, and the time zone difference is crazy. And the ship is there, I would imagine, right? They ship us home.
It was there. It was going through a mini Avail like they always do, right? And yeah, it was there. Got on board, and yeah, met the senior chief. Found out they were going to put me as work center supervisor as a first class. I was like, hold on, I came here to be an LPO. Like I told them, I was like, you're kind of wasting me if I'm a work center supervisor. I said, I'll do it. I've done it before, because that's what they had done. They had read my evals. They saw that we had a 3M assessment coming up. So they're like, well, you're going to be the 3MA and you're going to be the work center sup. So I said, okay, but you know, I'm going to make chief. My goal is to be the LPO, right? So we got through the 3M cert, and you know, by the time 3M cert was over with, I was LPO for maybe a month or so, and then chief results came out, and I was a chief and off and running.
Okay, so yeah, you get there in December, so August chief results come out. So you're about 6 months on board, and you pick up your anchors. Real quick, how long did it take you guys to get into Navy housing when you got there? Do you remember?
We were lucky that time. We moved into housing Christmas Eve. They got us all of our stuff because we shipped it out very early from Maryland, and they got us into housing December 24th. And Samantha got the Christmas tree set up because
That's
I mean
very awesome.
this was Jesse's second Christmas, right? This is
Yeah.
one where he's old enough where we can actually remember doing
Yeah.
anything with him, where he can be excited. So she got everything set up, because my plan was to buy some Christmas lights and make a design of a Christmas tree on the wall or something, right? But no, she got it squared away.
That's a big Christmas gift right there, to get all your stuff delivered to the house Christmas Eve, get it all unpacked to the best. That's huge. And that's always. Were you in a tower or were you in a townhouse?
We were in those 2-bedroom townhouses right there on Main Base Housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No,
right
I was happy with it. Walk to work.
Yep, that's good. Okay, so you're there 6 months later. You pick up Chief. Did any of the other BM1s pick up Chief that time, or were you the only one?
No, I was the only one. A buddy of mine, we were real close as BM1s. He was up as well. He made it the next year. But I was the only one that year.
Okay, and I just asked that because on an LHD, LHA, boat mates are just such a force to be reckoned with that it's not uncommon for one, at least that big of a ship, for one or two. Then it's also, I know what it's like to come in kind of the new arrival and then pick up rank, and everyone that's been there longer than you is like, what the hell? But
yeah.
The thing about life, people don't always know the work you put in to get to that point, right?
No.
They think you're the new guy.
Yeah.
No, you put a lot of work in to get to that point in your career, and then you pick up rank, and everyone's like, how'd that happen? Well, get to know him better, bro. Like, get to know more about the guy. Maybe you figure that part out. So when you go through initiation, how many selectees was there on board the Essex?
There were 16 of us.
That's good. It's not bad. Did you enjoy the process?
I don't know if anybody back then enjoyed the process, right? Because I'm not one to have fun with it, right? Like I wasn't one that was going to have fun with it, at least early on in Poke back. And remember, 2010, that's when the flood hit Millington. So our results came out late, right? So our whole season, we were going to get pinned on time, right? So our whole season was shortened. And, they had to cram everything in to, instead of 6-7 weeks, 4.5, 5 weeks, right?
Yeah. And they blame it all on you, like it's like you're going to be less than because you had a shorter season.
Yeah, that's okay. That's how it goes, right? But nobody wants to be the lead select, right? That's not the goal, right? So, and I knew that. I didn't care. I'd already been through things. Being at the Naval Academy. Look, at the Naval Academy, we steamed up and down the East Coast, right? And I had 30-something midshipmen that would be underway with me for weeks at a time that I was responsible for. Doing an egg division was not a problem.
Yeah. And again, you kind of show your, I can't even remember the last time I did an egg division, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So when I went through initiation, I had a tampon division.
Yeah.
Because I never even saw an egg division until I went to ATG San Diego, and I was like, "Oh, y'all can do eggs? Like, what is that?" But
we just employed our spouses. Samantha, she was the one responsible for making sure all those eggs were emptied out.
Yeah. Erica helped me decorate all my tampons with all the correct uniforms so they can have all the stuff they have, And
we got smart as a group, and we said we're just going to make one division for all 16 of us. We're not going to do 16 individual. We're just going to do one. Yep, we don't have time for all that.
Yep. No, I've seen the people that did that, and it's an intelligent move. And it just goes to show that they get it, right? They're getting the idea that this is just a process of exaggerating opportunities for conversations, right? Figuring things out. So you get to this initiation, which is 4 or 5 weeks, and all of a sudden, congratulations, ta-da, you're a chief, right? What's next? These are guys that were just telling you not too long ago you couldn't be the LPO. Now you're a chief. What are they going to do with you?
So I had some good relationships after we got in there. After you first get in the mess, right? You're a new chief, so all the new chiefs sit together. You're like, screw them, man. They were just mean to us for 5 weeks, right? But it didn't take long to build good relationships, and because me, I watch before I talk to people, I watch how they do things, right? I built some good relationships. That was a good mess. It was a strong mess. I did not get along with the BMCS that was on board, right? So I did everything I could to keep him in his office, and I ran the divisions, right? And I was just like, hey, I got it. If you have questions, ask me. I got it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that, but I'll tell you, I think anybody will tell you that ship took a toll on you, right? Because I mean, it was gone all the time,
I understand.
and it was. Uh,
I understand.
Went through a couple of in-serves on there as well, right? So, it wasn't. But again, I would rather go through an in-serve than sit there and not do anything. I don't mind in-serves, right?
I agree. I
Um,
agree. I love in-serve. I hate TICOM inspections, and I
yeah. I
hate
mean, they're the people that make it
HPD.
hard, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep. I
you know,
agree. I
we'll
could
talk to it
not
when we
agree.
get to the Ashland, but I worked towards in-serve for a long time, right? And
Well, unfortunately, that's one of that's just a life of a surface sailor,
yeah,
right? A surface sailor, a black shoe sailor, especially one that goes to sea like you're supposed to do, right? And you're gonna get there and have an in serve on this side of 5 years almost everywhere you go at
yeah,
some
yeah,
point,
yeah.
right? Or they're either
Well, now
or
you're
another
now you're
one,
doing it twice. Now you're doing it twice because they got the mid-cycle assessment. So
yeah, which is just God. You know, I wrote a paper when I went through SEA. So before I even got to Ash, I wrote a paper because again, as a DC man, I also worked a lot towards inspections and 3M,
yeah,
and I hate 3M. I hate the Navy's 3M program. I don't like 3MCs. Like I just don't like
yeah,
any of
yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
And I've got no problem saying that out loud. Nothing against those people, but it's their program. It's jacked up, right?
yep,
And I wrote the premise of the paper was if a ship can satisfy a 3M assessment at 2.5 years mark, they should require no mid-cycle assessment because if that PMS is going good, then they're going to be just fine at in-serve. If they
yeah.
fail the
I wrote a
3M,
similar paper at SEA for redundant inspections, right? And they failed me on it. It's like you don't have enough to back it up. I'm like, I'm living it right now.
that's
Like,
that. You know what? That's incredible. But
yeah,
my paper went nowhere too, right? Everyone
yeah,
just thanks.
yeah,
Let's talk about feelings.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I get it, bro, and
Yeah,
it's just one of those things, right? And people that are not actually deck engineering, those communities, especially on amphibs, because
yeah,
if you're a deck guy on a carrier or maybe even on a small boy, nothing against them, but it's different
yeah,
than being on an
yeah.
LHA, LHD, LSD, LPD,
Oh yeah,
right? And especially at a Sasebo where they are freaking, you are chugging away. They are not playing because they got guys coming from Cali, they got guys coming from
yeah.
Okinawa. You
All
are a
with different
training.
standards. All with different standards. Yeah. Yep.
So I want to ask you before I go any further. Now you've done Ponce and you've done Essex, right?
Yep.
On Ponce, it's an LPD. It's an Austin class, or is it a
Austin
nuclear?
class. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so because I was on Ogden, so very similar, exact same platform.
Yep.
So no LCACs, but you could do LCUs and
Well,
you
we could
could
do one. We could do one LCAC.
one LCAC.
Yeah.
Okay, so by that point, had you gotten a favorite amphibious well deck evolution that you liked the most?
I mean, LCAC is the easiest, but LCUs are my favorite, right? Because it's the most chaotic. Those things come
Yeah.
alive in the well, and if
Yeah.
it's choppy, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
My least favorite is AAVs. I can't stand them, right? Anytime you got to get a Marine to try to turn a direction,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare.
And you're up there trying to wave them and move them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I agree. I also like the LCUs. I loved watching the deck department do well deck operations on all my. I did Ogden, I did Bellawood, and I did Ashland,
Yeah.
and all three of my gators. Something special about the well deck operations, and I was a part of the ballast detail, so I'd be back there either cranking on the
Yeah.
hydraulic stations or freaking. I would be around, and that was
Yeah.
very inspiring stuff. At least for me, I think for that's if you were to find a tattoo on my heart of what the Navy looks like, it's a gator, right? For sure. And I love my carrier time too, but nothing like being on an amphib.
Yeah.
Which I tell people we're the Ford trucks of the United States Navy.
Yeah.
You know, we're not sexy like the Corvettes or nothing like that, but boy, and we're going,
Yeah.
you know. So you're getting to your Essex time. Okay, the senior chief that you're not getting along with. What was it about that guy that was just rubbing you the wrong way? If you don't mind my asking.
No, it's fine. So when I was going through the season, so when I first got there, right, he knew I had amphib experience. He was on his first amphib experience. And I don't know what it is about me and my career. I always get like, I don't say nothing, right? I'm not going to but he would, I remember my first well deck evolution, we got in an argument and, because he tried to say we were calling the depth of the water at the seal wrong. And I was like, no, you call it based off the bottom of the number is the foot mark, just like calling a draft on the side of the ship.
Yes.
He's like, no. And, then he tried to start calling me out in front of everybody at quarters, right? I'm a BM1, so I'm not going to argue with him in front of the whole department.
Right.
And so he said, go get a ruler. I said, okay. I said, I knew he didn't want me to, but I went and got one. And, I brought the whole department down there with me and measured it right in front of him. And I said, here you go. Right. So that wasn't the greatest first evolution with the senior chief on board the ship. Right. And then, as I'm going through the season, making chief, because there was a BMC Brooks on there while I'm a BM1, right? We both got there at the same time within a month of each other. And the BMC wasn't having a good experience with him either. And so then when I made chief, I was like, okay, well, we'll tag team this. And then they got the other BMC Brooks out of there as quick as they could, right? They got him out of there. So now it's just me and him. But as I'm going through the season, he would sit me down and he would tell me, hey, don't trust anybody in the mess, right? You sit here, you talk with me, you talk. What he didn't want anybody knowing Deck's business, because you know how you sit in the mess and you talk shop, right? Hey, I got this going on, whatever. He did not want that to happen whatsoever, right? So whatever, we would go back and forth, and we were getting close to the end of his time, and he and I were turning over, right? So LHD is a BMCM billet, right? But at the time, no BMCM was coming to Japan, right? They're not coming to Japan. They're homesteaded, right? You don't get very many that just want to come out there.
Yep.
So I'm a first-year BMC, and I'm turning over with him to take over DLCPO, right? And then we had a suicide, right? And it's like 5:30 in the morning, and me and the department head are sitting up in the deck office, and we're talking about, because the department doesn't know yet, right? It happened on the ship. We've kind of kept everybody away, and we're up there talking about it, how we're going to get the department together to have a conversation. And he calls from the chief's mess, right? Because he and I, essentially, we've turned over. He's got like a month left, right? And he's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, well, come up to the office. We'll talk about it. I'll kind of tell you what's going on. So he gets up there, and I tell him, and he's like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. And like, I was just done, right? And it was not a friendly conversation. It was not a pleasant conversation. And on LHDs, they've got the elevator that comes down from medical. And so I had deck seamen lined up, his friends, this sailor's friends, lined up in their dress blues. I'm in my blues, the CMC's in his blues. And the senior chief is in his coveralls over there asking me, hey, when are we going to have you heard when we're doing my Helen Bell? Have you heard, when they're going to ring me off the ship, when we're going to do this? And I was like, dude, I'm not talking to you about this, right? Go away. So he started bugging the CMC, right? And so him and the CMC started yelling at each other, and I got him to go over there in the wind tunnel, and the CMC had Seco escort him off the ship, like, get him off here.
Yeah.
Like, you're done now.
Yep.
Right. And
for sure, buddy.
That was just about a year plus experience I had with that guy. Right. And I could tell a whole lot more stories that are similar. Right. Where he was just not a good dude. Right.
Was he single? Was he married?
No, he was married. Look, I've ran across boatmates that are loud, that are, the loudest person in the room is not always the person in charge, and they're definitely not always the one that knows that understands what's going on, right? And he was just that guy, right? He would kind of hide behind being loud.
I was just curious if like he was doing a Geo Bash tour or something, because sometimes those guys that are doing GB tours, they
No,
seem okay.
yeah, he was there. He had his family there.
Okay. I mean,
That's
just
just who
holy
he
crap,
was.
right? Wow, that's a lot, man. And that's a lot for you to
Yeah.
handle, take on your shoulders as a young DLCPO, because there is no such, like you said, especially overseas. I've seen the same thing where you're supposed to have a 9 or an 8 or whatever, and the guy that gets the job is the guy that's there, and then if you that's a great opportunity to make it, and
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to fail, but you've got a whole department of sailors that are dependent upon you to hopefully find success. And then you deal with one of the most challenging things ever, which is the loss of a person, right?
Yep.
After, I mean, just the hit. So how did you lead your sailors out of that space?
I had some awesome BM1s. I'll be honest with you, right? I didn't do it by myself, right? There was a lot of things that for all of us, this was the first time we've had to deal with something like this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the type like, look, when I have a khaki meeting, BM1s are there, right? Because they're about their next step is being a khaki, so you might as well learn how to start having these conversations now, right? And I leaned on them. We got to get these guys. Because I felt like at the time the worst thing you could do is just send people home, right? Um, so we on the LHD we have a sell off, right? It's a big space, right? Sewing machines and all that. So we just got everybody down there and we kind of talked about it. Um, Obviously brought chaplains down and all that stuff, allowed people to have their conversations and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, we just kind of got through it together.
Man, what is it about the Bosa Mate community where the majority of you guys are so freaking close? Because I mean, DC men, we all want to cut each other's heads off, right? We all think we're the best one, and there can only be we're like the Highlander, right? There can only be one. Everybody else got to go. But the Bosa mates, God, they're just the level of I would say trust, respect. Hey, boats. Hey, once you get called boats, it's almost like a Marine being called
Yeah.
Marine, man. Like I give it almost that level of respect. And I tell you that because one of my mentors is retired BMCM named Ian O'Meara,
I
and
know him.
so Ian was a BMCS on Ogden with me, and I was his DC1, and he was BMC, then BMCS, and we went to ATG together. And that guy was just so great,
Yeah.
But I saw it at every ship I went to with every gator. Really, I saw it everywhere. To be called a boats was almost
Yeah.
like damn near being called Marine. Like, how come? What is it about your guys' community that has that level of just trust and respect in it?
Well, I mean, for me, I think look, the evolutions we do, you got to be in sync with each other, right? You got to know what the other side is supposed to do, and you got to know that they're going to do it, right? When you're handling boats that are, 8 feet up above your head in the air, right? You got to know. Um, so I think just during the evolutions, you build a lot of faith and trust, and I push those guys to go on Liberty together, right? Hey, BM3s and BM2s go on Liberty together. BM2s and BM1s go on Liberty together, right? I don't want BM1s out with BM3s, but one up, one down. Hey, go on Liberty together and learn from each other, take care of each other, right?
Yeah.
And I push for that. And but I think they'll look, especially amphibs and FDNF. All we do is operate, right? Because the 31st MEU is a training MEU, right? So when we get underway with them, all we're doing is going out there and doing evolution after evolution after evolution. So,
Yeah.
all
Oh,
you got to do is spend time together.
very interesting, but I think it is. I do believe the Bosa Mate community, while being one of the most, I would say, challenging communities, it's also probably one of the most well-respected communities, and I think everybody knows that. And I will tell you, I remember going into my CMC tour, I knew without a shadow of a doubt I was going to need my deck department chief to be aligned with me. Same with my top snipe, same thing with my
Yeah.
top chop, like all that stuff. Okay, so when you're wrapping up Essex, forward deployed 3 years, tour
So
that you just
we did the whole swap, right? We did the whole swap with the BHR, right? That's where I
okay.
met Ian, right? So
Ian. Yeah.
here I am a BMC, and I got Ian O'Meara, who's a BMCM at like 15 years, right? And I'm like, I'm trying to manage a whole swap with him that has been cut in half, right? Because
Yeah.
they took us down from having 2 months to a month to like 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I had to hold my ground, right? I had to learn there to have a conversation with a BMCM.
Yeah.
But Ian was great, right?
Yeah.
It was while there was bad blood between the crews, right? At least from the deck department standpoint, and I'm sure I did not turn him over everything in tip-top shape. How could I, right? But there was never a negative word said.
No, and I'm sure he was very open. I'm sure he knew what he was getting, what he was given. Dude has so much seat time, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've tried to get him on this podcast, as a matter of fact. We've been talking back and forth because we were shipmates on Ogden together. And then, like you said, he made BMCM he made it quick, and then he walked away from the Navy at 20 years. And I love him for that, right?
Yeah.
And now he's a preacher up in Pac Northwest, and he's running a congregation doing great things. So Ian is a hero. At least I would not be a chief petty officer if it wasn't for Ian O'Meara. I'll say that right now in front of everybody, because he's the first person that taught me how to write an eval. No one ever taught me how to do that as a first class and he was a boastmate. And I tell people that I was raised by BMs. I was raised by LDOs, Mustangs. Like, I was in the duty section. That's who you got, right? Your section lead. He was my section leader. I was his fire marshal, right? That was that relationship that we had. So you're turning over ship, or so you walk off Bon Hamashar.
Yep.
Okay, so you turn over the boat. You finally get relieved. Do you get a relief of a senior chief? Do you get
Nope. So they extended me for 3 months. Still couldn't get anybody to come out, right? Because every time they would tell a BMCS you're coming, they would drop their retirement paperwork until they finally got one that had less than 20 years that couldn't just drop retirement paperwork. But he was so far out from getting out there. They had already extended me for 90 days. I turned over an LHD to an NCCS, Chris Klein. You remember him, right? You know him, right? I turned over deck department to him. And
that
it was
had to be
crazy.
tough.
It was crazy, but I had awesome BM1s. I can't say it enough.
Yeah.
Those BM1s on that ship.
So you did a good tour, did 2.5 years as a chief on board that ship, DLCPO and an LHD. What were you thinking when you were negotiating where your family was going to go next?
So we kept saying Virginia, right? Because that was, go back to Virginia. That's where we were there. We know it. And I had been selected to be an LCU craftmaster. I was like, I've been a craftmaster before. I'll go be an LCU. It was another sea duty, but I never felt like it was anything, because I was up for senior chief as I was leaving BHR, right? And I never felt like going to be an LCU craftmaster was going to be anything that was going to help me get to that next level, right? And I'm looking. I really didn't know what I should do. So I got a hold of the detailer, because there was a hot fill for MESG Ron out of San Diego, right? Which is it had just turned over to our Coastal Riverine Group 1, the TEU, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'll go there, right? I'll do something different. I'll get more quals. I'll be able to do other things, right? So I did that, right? And I did that Riverine tour.
And was that a deployable tour, or was that a training?
Oh, I was the TEU, so I was I was kind of their version of ATG, which was difficult, right? Because I was getting looked at like, I didn't have a EXW pin. They're like, you don't have any experience, right, on these crafts. But I knew navigation, right? I knew how to so I taught navigation until I got my quals up. I had to go get qualified just like everybody else.
Well, and like you said, and for people that don't know, the expeditionary forces were going through a weird change around that time, because we were all putting away our toys and going home after the War on Terror. Really, I mean, the Obama years, right? It's wrapping up, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out what life looks like in the Navy after the war. And expeditionary forces, in particular, MESG or the Maritime Expeditionary Security Groups, they were getting pushed in with the harbor security bubbas or the people that do the regular security. And there was a lot of animosity there.
Well, there was. NECC was just trying to gobble up anything they could to keep funding, right? Let's be honest, right? They were trying to take anything they could just to make sure they didn't go away.
That's it, 100%. And I remember when everybody was so excited about standing up the Riverine Force, everybody, that was like the hottest thing moving for a couple of years. I remember sailors just throwing their whole career away because they were going to be Riverines like in Vietnam, right? They're going to be. I never went for that.
They spent 12, 15 years of Riverines and never got past BM1. Yeah, no, I know.
That's it. And then they get stuffed into CRG, MESG, and now all of a sudden they're like, this isn't what I trained for. I went to Marine Corps infantry school or whatever. And it's like, I could see where here you come with, even though you're a chief petty officer, tons of experience, I could see where they kind of got their test out and they're peacocking a little bit, you know.
Well, most Riverines thought they were SWIC, right? And
that's a true statement. Yeah. That's a true statement.
And
I remember I told
bought into that.
No, I told a few of my sailors when I was on Ogden that was going to Riverine about 03, 04, right? They were all excited about it. I told them, I said, you know, if they don't make it a rate, like all the other things that are turning into rates, you're making a bad decision. So I hope they make it a rate. Because if they don't, you're just a glorified freaking MA on a boat that thinks they can drive fast.
Look, those were fun tours, right? And they were great deployments, right, for those guys because – I mean, shoot, you're deploying to UAE, making $180-something a day per diem, and you're living in 4- and 5-star hotels, right? Who wouldn't want to do that for a deployment?
Well, and I think that the Navy never truthfully understood what they were going to do with them because there was this whole idea like they're going to be going up and down the rivers into Iraq.
Yeah, so the coastal guys, they always had a mission. Yeah, the coastal guys always had a mission. It was the riverine stuff. They never got sorted out.
Yeah, it kind of flopped. But I remember that time period where they all got kind of gobbled up. And so I can only imagine what it was like to be a non-expeditionary person who's on the staff of the training unit, having to go on board their platforms and give them an assessment. And
they were not happy, right? They were not happy because I made senior chief there, so I was the TU SEL, and so I was the lead evaluator, right? So I was there, and I was the one having to brief these squadrons, right? Pass or fail or whatever, right? And they were not happy, right, at all.
So when you were a senior enlisted leader there for that group, who was your boss like a commander at the time? Was it like lieutenant commander?
Yeah, so I had I was the TU SEL, and then I was also the N7 because we had a bifurcated chain of command, right? Mm-hmm. So I was N7 for group, and then I was a TU SEL, right? So I had a civilian who was the N7, and then I had a commander who was the TU OIC. So it was.
What was your command like? Was it like a senior command, like a lot of the senior enlisted, or did you have junior sailors?
Yeah. No, I had the most junior sailor I had was a second class, right? And there was only 2 of them. The rest were chiefs and first classes. I had another senior chief who was an MACS ground guy. So.
Okay, and that was San Diego. So were you over in Coronado?
I was down in Imperial Beach.
IB.
Yep.
Okay. Where'd you guys live at?
We lived up in Murphy Canyon. In housing.
Was your second son born during Essex?
He was. Yep. Yeah, he was born while I was on the Essex.
When'd you pack that in, bro? Because that ain't easy to have a baby in Sasebo.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't easy to play. It was not planned. None of them, I don't think, were really planned. But it was.
Okay.
It was not easy.
I remember a conversation we had one time where you were like, "I think we're done," and a couple kids later, now you got a quartet.
Well, the last 2 were vacation babies, right? I just don't recommend going on vacations, right?
Hey man, God did that, bro. I give that to God and Sam, bro, 100%. I think she knew what she wanted and she was gonna get it.
It was definitely her.
But I will tell you, like having that baby in Sasebo, people don't understand. Like it's not, you get a choice. Do you want to have a baby in Sasebo and go out in town on the economy in Japanese hospital, or do you want to trip it up to Yokosuka and go to the freaking hospital. Did y'all go to Yoko or did y'all stay in Sasebo?
No, we did it in Sasebo. We did it there. There's called the Higashijima Clinic, and we did it there. We had 2 there.
How was that? Was that a good experience?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, Samantha's eating steak and lobster after giving birth, right? She was happy.
Yeah, they're gonna pack it full of red meat, man. They know what's up.
Yeah.
They know what's up. Okay, so you're in San Diego. You got 2 boys. Where are you living at again? Are you living in
Murphy
IV?
Canyon and base housing, right?
I know where that's at. Okay. Did you like San Diego?
We did. It was just too expensive, right? You know, at the Chief, with 2 kids, it was not cheap, right? It was not easy to, but we found free stuff to do. We did a lot of hikes. We did, we enjoyed it. But I think we figured out we were ready to leave Japan after the BHR, but after about a month of being gone from Japan, we were ready to go back. We were ready to go right back to Japan.
Me and my wife understood. And I think it was because we recognized how much money we could have saved if we really paid attention to it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so you're there for a month. You already think you want to go back to Japan. Do you do the whole 3 years of that training unit, or do you?
No, I left. I did the same thing that I did at the Naval Academy. I left. I cut my tour short to leave at an eval cycle. So I saw that the Ashland was for a couple of cycles was on there for a BMCS, and I called the detailer. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Right? I see the Ashland has been on here. And he goes, yeah, I don't have any rollers going to it. I said, well, I'll drop my 1306 to curtail shore duty as long as you transfer me on September 16th, right? So I can get a ranked eval, right? Because I had built the MTS program there at TEU. They didn't have one, so I had built one. I was running the EXW program. I was doing a lot of things. I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving before evals, right? Yeah. So he didn't even allow me to get the 1306 in and approved. The next, because back then you didn't get the orders yet. You got the I forget what it was called, the letter of intent, right? So that like the next day, I had a letter of intent, and my Commodore is like, "What is going on? You're supposed to have another year left here." And I was like, "By the way, I'm going back to Japan."
Yeah. So when you saw the Ashland, what was it? Just did you want to go to an LSD next?
So that's the only amphib platform I hadn't been on, right? So, and to be honest, like I'd seen the Ashland. I seen the Ashland because we loaded some Riverine gear on it on its trip to Sasebo when it left Norfolk. It stopped in San Diego. So I went on there as the gear was getting loaded on, and I was like, man, this ship needs some work, right? So I was like, that's one I can go there and I can do something, right? So, but yeah, I knew it was going to be a good opportunity.
So when your family got to Sasebo the next time, how was that? Did you have the same sort of pickup at the airport?
No, but we knew our way, right? And I'll be honest with you. So, my sponsor was great, right? I'd had a hard time in the process of getting to the ship because my granddad had some health issues, and I had been trying to get a hold of people on the ship, be like, hey, I think I need to extend leave, because he was in the hospital for almost the entire time I was on my 30 days of leave for transfer, right?
Yeah.
And he was not doing well.
And he's like your daddy. He's like he is like.
No, he raised me. Like everything I am, it's him, right? Yeah. And so I was like, hey, I think I'm going to need to extend, because the hospital is telling us to make plans, right? And organ failure, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And nobody would return my call. Like the sponsors would be like, hey, I've told the CMC, I've told your department head and all these things. And the department head, he was doing his part, but nothing was getting done, if that makes sense, right? And nobody was giving me an answer. And for whatever, like my granddad turned the corner, right? And he even got sent home a couple of days after we got on the flight to go to Japan, right? So he was fine. So I was like, all right, well, we're getting on this flight. And then we had a layover in Houston, and it was the CMC call. He said, "Hey, I need you to call me." So I called him, right? And he's like, "Hey, I was flying in on a Saturday night. I was going to get to the hotel like 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and their ship was getting underway on a Monday to come up to Yokosuka for Trav." He's like, "Hey, I need you underway on Monday." I was like, "Well, I'm not supposed to report till midweek." I said, "I need to get my family settled. I at least need to get on the housing list and all that stuff." I said, "Can you just fly me up?" He goes, "I need you underway. We got some issues." I said, "Let me tell you, I've been trying to reach out to you for almost a month, and nobody would call me. I'm not going to be there Monday." I said, you can send a port call, and I'll meet the ship in Yokosuka." Right. And that's what they did. They flew me up that next Friday. It wasn't a pleasant meeting. Right. But
in my family, we call that an audacity, right? Like the audacity, right?
Yep.
A Navy family is coming abroad. Yes, it's a senior chief. Yes, he's a DLCPO, but give the man time to get this family squared away. And I've done the same thing, bro. I got to GW, and I was going to George Washington. The master chief, the senior chief, and the chief all left the day I got there because none of them wanted to be there when I got there. And the ship got underway like the following week, and I had to get underway. And I got no time. My wife was just home, and I will tell you, and I know you probably feel the same way. Like, hell hath no. I would not let that happen to one of my sailors. I would fight tooth and nail on that shit. Like, no way are we doing that to a family. And so to hear them do that to you guys, it makes me. You're my guy. Like, I always have protective feelings over my people, and that for me, I get frustrated when I hear that, and I know it's not that big of a deal for you to go there, right? We all know that. They made it 4 or 5 days.
I mean, look, Samantha knew what she was doing.
I appreciate that.
She was well trained, and we had a lot of friends still in Sasebo, and but I was like, "Hey, give me to the end of the week, right? Let me get power of attorneys done and all this stuff so she can sign for stuff. Let me get these things done." And so I was like, "I'm not going to be there on Monday, right? I don't have to report until this date when I'm reporting."
So then they fly you up there on Friday to Yoko because they're doing a training availability up in Yokosuka for like fire schools and crap.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
the problem was the reason they wanted me up there is because the ship was going through Ready 7 to get ready for MCA. Right. And it was not going well. Right. Specifically, deck department was not going well. The BMC that was on board, he had just gotten there as well. And he was Geo Batch, and, he was trying to get things squared away. And there was a lot of that. It was not a healthy department, right? There was a lot of animosity between officers and chiefs, and who needs to make and influence decisions and things like that, right? And
was the BMC Mike?
Yep, Speedy.
I gotta get him on here. I'm gonna reach out to him next. I gotta get Mike on here, bro.
Yeah, he met me. He met me on the pier. And I knew they were getting ready to go through Ready 7. And I was like, "Hey, man, like, is everything good?" He goes, "No." He goes, "No." And they were more concerned with painting the sides of the ship than laying out gear. And I was like, it's too late to paint, right? We got to show gear, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm still in civilian clothes, and I go up to meet the department head. And day one, me and the department head are yelling at each other in his stateroom. Right. And
I remember that guy.
It was just not, it was not a healthy department. Right.
And that was day one.
Yeah. And that laid the groundwork for my 3 years on the Ashland.
So, but look, here's what I'll say before I want to talk more about Ashland, but I do want to give you your flowers right quick, bro. You get there. Imagine, JB, what you're walking into that day. And look at how successful that ship was when you walked off there.
Yeah.
When you walked off there, bro, you guys were the best ship on the freaking waterfront in the Pacific Fleet. And there is freaking receipts for that, bro. Like freaking receipt. And I will tell you that because I got them all in my scrapbook somewhere because I'm always happy to freaking fly for the world to see. Because it's not every day an LSD gets that level of attention. gets that level of recognition. What was it? The Marjorie's, whatever award y'all got, y'all besides going, y'all just remember that. So as much as it was probably a hard tour, I have a feeling you might have a hard time ever beating that tour for the rest of your career.
Oh no, I would like so. One of the department heads that was there later on, he's a CO now on an amphib.
I know.
And he reached out to me, and I went and met him while we've been here in Hawaii.
Very cool.
And I told him, I said, I'll never be able to do that again. Like I could not replicate that again.
100%.
Right?
I don't know
if mentally I would be able to do it, but I just it was a perfect.
I will tell you. So he reached out to me too. He's that just shows his class, right?
Yeah,
he's got so much class.
Yeah.
Such a great guy. But after my carrier tour where I went to Master Chief, right? I was done with that rate. I could never beat that tour. We did everything I set out to do and more. Hit all the records, broke all the things, and I literally had to change my rate, bro, because otherwise I would have just got out. Because I told Eric, I was like, I never want to mess that up by trying to do it again and not meeting my expectations. So I can relate to that. Okay, so let's go back to Ashland. So here you are now, a young senior chief, just came overseas, second tour, so you kind of know what you're doing a little bit. The ship is going through a TICOM readiness assessment to get ready for upcoming materiel readiness assessment. Your department head and you are not getting along. The chief that you're with,
I wasn't getting along with the Divos either. Like the Divos were openly trying to say they hope deck department fails.
Why would they say that?
It's just who they were. Like it was toxic, Gary. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was toxic.
What month did you get there?
I got there in October of 2015.
Okay, because I get there in January.
Yeah.
So you got there about 3 months ahead of me. Okay, so you get through that first inspection, right? You get through that first period.
So luckily, I knew the inspector, right? The lead inspector. He didn't know I was on the ship, and I saw that he had posted that he was in Yokosuka, right? And I said, "Hey, man, I'm in Yokosuka too. Let's meet at the Chiefs Club," right? So me and Mike we go meet him at the Chiefs Club, and he's like, "Where are you at?" And I was like, "I'm on the Ashland. You're coming to see me tomorrow, right?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "You guys are going to be all right." I said, "I just got here 3 days ago." I said, "We're going to fail." I said, "But do me a favor. Don't bury me so bad that my guys can't recover from it, right? Don't kill us I said, fellas, give us an honest assessment, but don't kill us to the point to where I can't get them to see the light 6 weeks from now when we go through MCA."
So I hear the part about the friction with the first lieutenant and the Divos. What was it like with the BM1s and BM2s and the junior sailors?
I had some motivated BM1s, right? I had to make some changes on who my LPOs were, right? Because before I had gotten there, the department head was deciding who the LPOs were, and he was just picking whoever the senior first class was. And I was like, no, I don't believe in that. I don't live by that. I run my department. I make personnel decisions in my department.
Yeah.
And so I made changes, and thankfully there were ones that worked, right? Because I could tell I had some motivated guys that they knew what needed to be done, but nobody was empowering them to be able to do it.
So for the people that got moved out of the leadership position, how did they handle it?
I had conversations with them, right? I put them in leadership positions, right? And look, for me, if you're a BM1, not everybody can be the LPO, right? Not everybody, but if you're a BM1 and you're busting your tail for me, and I can trust you, your eval is going to say LPO, right? Your write-up is going to be to the point where you're showing leadership. Let's be honest, right? Because the board knows that not everybody can be an LPO, but as long as you're showing leadership, as long as you're showing the things that you need to show, and for me, Postmates make their money in evolutions and inspections, right? So I'm going to speak to that.
Did they know the BM1s, the BM2s, the BM3s, did they know the level of where they were at?
No, they were fairly poorly trained, right? A lot of them. Some of them were good. Some of them were very motivated. Some of them started out real high, and then, as you know, they kind of crashed and burned a little bit, right? But they they were taught how to make things look like they were done instead of being done.
Okay. So now you get through that first, you get through the trav, you get through all that availability. You guys, anything else significant happened during that first part of your time there?
No, not really. We got through MCA, so we went red at Ready 7, and at MCA we went yellow, right? So we pulled it up enough to be able to show a lot of improvement, right? But I mean, as you know, the Ashland was not a fan of anybody. Like, nobody thought anything of the Ashland on the waterfront, right?
I know.
So going through that process of getting ready for that MCA, we were going through it. I mean, there were people coming over there just ready to take their shots.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I got to Japan, before I even got to Ashland, I went over to the CTF 76 building, and a buddy of mine was there from the George Washington. I walked in the door. He was like, "Thank God you're going to the Ashland." And I was like, "Oh yeah, why?" And he was like, "They are a dirty ship." And I was like, "They're a dirty ship." He's like, "Yeah, they're a dirty." And I was like, "All right, well," because when I picked Ashland, I literally called my detailer, and I was like, "Look, man, I want an LSD out of Sasebo, Japan. That's what I want." And he gave me two choices, and I just picked Ashland I didn't have no real reason to pick it.
Well, I mean, if you remember, the mind frame on there was, hey, we're FDNF. We don't have time for that, right? And I'm like, we had to shift it, right? No, we're FDNF. We have to make time for it.
We did, and that mindset was actually bigger than Ashland, right? It was unfortunately across the 7th Fleet. And I will tell you, when I went up to Yokosuka after leaving Ashland, we had a whole movie theater full of sailors for 7th Fleet. Like, we had a whole call, all the sailors for 7th Fleet, and they took all of us there, and they asked all the Master Chiefs if we wanted to say a few words. And these guys get up on the stage, and they were saying for political things. Hey, Gary, you got something to say? I lit that damn place on fire, bro. Because I was like, this is not the 7th Fleet I grew up in. We have got to be better than everybody else, right? We have got to be. Yeah. And, of course, I'm coming off of Ashland, where we walked that walk and talked that talk. Yeah. And while we were underway at the same time that all those other ships were having bad days, and every day we were like, is today going to be the day we're going to have a bad day? No, it's not. No, today is not. We're not going to have a bad day. Mm-hmm. And nothing against the other crews, nothing against other ships. God bless them and their crews. I'm sorry for whatever happens. But we did a lot of underway days too, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, there was one ship that shall not be named couldn't get underway for 2 years, right? So we took all their underways, right?
The Germantown. We'll call
it. Yeah.
I got no problem saying that out loud. They knew who they were, right? Hey, but you know what? We needed those reps and sets, right? Because truth be told, bro, when I look back on that time, I got exactly what I asked for, right? Yeah. I got exactly what I asked for. God gave me exactly what in my heart, what I wanted, right? I got all of it plus a bag of snacks, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't think we would have had the success we had we not had the perfect storm of people come in, right? I tell everybody, and I tell, my CO now, who for a little bit of my time on the Ashland was the Fibron deputy. If it wasn't for the Chiefs mess on the Ashland would not have done what the Ashland did, right? Because we didn't all get along. We didn't all like each other in that mess. But I'm telling you right now, there wasn't a single time that we were going through something that everybody wasn't standing right there ready to support and do whatever needed to be done.
100%. And it took some getting there. It took some getting there, and but yes, I agree with you, Jeff. It was – I agree with you, JB. I'm going to keep calling you JB. That's all I can think about calling you. But yes, Jeff, that mess was magical, bro. It was special. But it was hard, bro. But I tell people, if you're on sea duty and you're not exhausted, you're not doing it right, man. Like but I think about Game of Thrones. I think about Sons of Anarchy. I think about
Yeah.
we did all of that and we worked hard and played hard and all the above things,
Yeah.
And I remember so when I first found out Ty was going to go to Ashland, I was still in Norfolk before I got to Ashland. I even reached out to him ahead of time. And I was like, hey, man, you're going to be my top snipe. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. I want to be aligned.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think the DLCPOs. And the other thing was, I remember when I got there, we needed some people to leave.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They had to go. Nothing against them, but their time was done. And those of us that were there for the next 3 years were looking forward to the future. And they didn't have the energy we were about to have because.
Yeah.
And then what do you think was the turning point for Ashland? Do you remember what you think was the turning point? Because I know what it was, at least in my opinion. But what do you think was the turning point?
I think it was coming out of that first SRA for me, because that SRA for me was a nightmare, right? Because my manning had dropped down to, I think, 26 total, including khakis. That's chiefs and officers. And I remember coming to you and be like, Gary, I don't have enough to launch an LCU and stand a bridge watch team, right? We've got to do something.
We pulled all the people back, right?
Yeah, because that's when I had almost a mutiny in deck department with the hashtag free herd shirts, right? Because his Wi-Fi up in Fukuoka got messed up and whatever, right? Whatever the stories were. And, that coming out of that and being able to finally get operational and get away from just the nonsense of what an SRA brings. For me, it never got easy, right? I'm going to tell you right now, there was not a single thing on that ship that ever got easy.
Not supposed to. It's not supposed to. But I want to tell that story real quick from my perspective. So for those of you listening to the sound of our voice, on a ship, you only have so many people. Let's start there, period. Human beings on a ship, right? And the ship has to do certain things operationally and safety, period. We have to. And so we only get, say like we get 300. We get 300 people to do the things, whatever the things are. And Jeff is the LCPO, the leading chief petty officer for one of the most operationally important departments on the ship. And the manning is not there because the bodies are not coming for some reason. And we haven't been underway to train people anyway because we were in the yards doing ship repairs. So either way, he's got problems. And I remember Jeff coming to me, and I appreciate you reminded me because honestly, until you reminded me, I kind of forgot about this, but now I remember the whole thing. I remember you coming to me and telling me that problem. And I was undesignated when I joined the Navy, so I know what it's like to come up undesignated and strike a rate and then move on to the next thing in my life. But they also kept me in the pit for a year because it was what was most advantageous for the ship and for the command.
Yeah.
And so when Jeff came to me and he says, Gary, I don't have the people, we had to get creative. And I think Jeff already knew what we needed to do, but he knew it wasn't going to be popular. And we were going to have to sell it to the mess. We were going to have to sell it to the wardroom, sell it to the sailors, right? Which was identify all the sailors on the ship that had already qualified the things we needed qualified, whether they were OSs now, whether they were operational specialists, whether they were gunner's mates, didn't matter. And then we had to identify other people that could get training to supplement the team in specific instances. And that's exactly what we did. And then we took it to the mess. We took it to the CO, the XO. Everyone blessed us on it, and we did it, right? And that was I think you're right. That was the beginning of the crew synthesizing to being a crew that was going to work together to accomplish the mission, not a bunch of siloed organizations that don't care how everyone else is doing, right? And we leveraged that kind of a thought process. I mean, everything, whether it was getting ready for the NAA awards and everybody supporting supply, or getting ready for LOA and everybody supporting engineering, or whatever it was, right? I remember the analogy of everybody was going to be on the line pulling, and we were going to line up behind each other and just kind of peel off. And I still live my life to that with my cadets to this day. I swear to God, like we have an operations calendar that we run, and when I do my meetings with them, that's how we stack it. So we're best supporting everybody before we leave the meeting. for me, the turning point of Ashland, and I remember couple things. Number one, I remember we lost a chief petty officer in Thailand.
Yep.
Right. And I'd only been on board like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And that was a big turning point because I then had the ability to go up to the captain and say, see, culture's a problem. We got a problem on this ship, and you've got people that are out doing things, and now this is a smoking gun. And so he gave me a little bit more ability to start gutting things and breaking hearts, right? So I was pissed. I was furious for the sailors. I was furious for the mess. I was furious for that chief's family. I was furious. Like, it was sad. That was a sad case.
Yep.
But the other thing was, I remember when they threatened the XO at the time with not getting command if we didn't pass the 3M inspection.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And for me, that was where I really felt like the mess had my back, because the XO and CO are kind of my guys. I got those are the people that I got to take care of. Everyone's got you got your department head, you got your challenges, right? We all got our people, but 3M was Chief's business, in my opinion. And if we didn't pass that 3M inspection, it shouldn't be that guy's fault if we failed 3MI. And I was so pissed off that they made that just that flagrant of a I don't even know what you call it, right? Just to say something like that, just to threaten them on that way. And I remember coming in the mess and just being like, we gotta route, and we did good. We did good. You know, our goal was
if you remember, I got asked to leave the out brief because I was arguing because I wanted to know where my 8/100th of a point was, right? Because I mean, for deck we had scored, I think it was a 99.91 or whatever the score was. It was ridiculous. And look, let's be honest. I had a BM1 that was an inspector, and I did not let that dude go anywhere unless I was in his hip pocket. And you know, I worked him, right? Let's be like, I had to do what I had to do to get us through it. And
remember, we set up our own internal assessment team. We did our own practice run through.
Yeah,
bro, we did. God, I missed that mess. That mess. We had a fireplace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, right? Fibron and ESG, they just didn't know our names yet, right? They just didn't know yet. And to be able to make that kind of threat.
Yeah, they did not know. But that for me was like, and I remember having that conversation with Steve Wasson, who I did one of these with him recently. He's actually going to come work with me at my high school. He's retiring this year, and he's coming down to work with me as my senior naval science instructor. I recruited him, bro, because I was like, it's just like being on a ship underway, bro. Every day is like a fast cruise. It's great. It's awesome. Yeah. And, we're gonna sit out there in lawn chairs and watch the cadets do things. It's awesome, man. It's fun. Yeah. And so he's coming down to be my guy. And I remember telling him, like, don't worry, man, we got you. And once we did that, I knew he was never gonna ever. He trusted us all the way anyway, right? Yeah. Because I would tell him things, and then it would walk in the door. Because remember how aligned we were. We would talk, and then we'd like, all right, go get the department head to go tell him now. Tell him. Yeah, it was great. So when you got to the end of that tour, how was that leaving Ashland for you?
Leaving was fine. Well, so it was unfortunate, right? Because it had gotten to the point where I could feel things start to shift again in the opposite direction, right?
Ooh.
More people that came in. I had been there so long, and I had fought not just me, but, you know, like the department, everybody that I'd had with me had fought so hard to get to this point, which was InServ, right? Because when we barely got past MCA 2.5 years earlier, I used every inspection. I used everything to get ready for InServ. That's what it was, right?
That was our strategy.
Yeah. And when we went green, and I remember the last day of InServ, I'm still arguing with the inspector over the ACOM ladder, and he's like, "Hey, man, you're going to go green. Like, why are you arguing with me?" I was like, "It doesn't matter, right? My guy spent too much time to take a silly hit that's not a real thing." And that's the way I looked at it, and that's the way I looked at every inspection on there, you know, because, you know, you're not supposed to argue, you're not supposed to do that. No, bull. I'm arguing because we worked too hard, right?
Yep.
These guys spent too many countless hours to try to do it the right way for you to have a different standard, right? And that's the way I felt
Yep.
about it. And then as I
And
was
ladies and
leaving,
gentlemen, hold on real quick, Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not hear what he said, the USS Ashland went green at in-serve without even stopping operational schedule in order to complete the in-serve. There was no stand down for 3 months to get ready for the inspection. I will, because again, I'm watching y'all from up north and I'm asking, are they going to get some time? Are they going to get some time? No, no,
no, because
no.
if you remember, I don't know if you that like they pulled my AMW cert, they pulled the 3M cert to before in-serve before I left. That way we could go through it before I left. So I'm like, gee, here we go again, right?
Yeah.
So they pulled all that early.
All I was
We went through
tracking was
3M.
the
We went
in-serve
through
date.
3M
Yeah.
cert like 2 or 3 weeks before in-serve. And when you're going through in-serve, you're putting job in left and right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys are killing us because we got all these jobs in that are for in-serve, and now you're they're all.
What was that feeling like? Because look, I had one time when I was on George Washington where ATG, we finished up a whole big major conflagration drill, right? And ATG literally, we're on an aircraft carrier, and they told me, hey, we're not going to go to the debrief. Just tell us what you guys got later. Because we'd gotten so good. They were sick and tired of us telling them what it was. Right. And I went into the wardroom and I had a full 150 DSET team. And I took my mic off. And I said, hey, we did it. They tapped out. We won. And everyone was like, yeah, whoa. Right.
Yeah.
Did you have that moment with your deck guys when y'all went green at insert?
We did. We did right after, right? They did the all hands call and we did all that. And we had the signs green and all that stuff printed out. And it was great. And then we deployed the very next week. Right. So it was short lived, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But me leaving, like I went on that patrol and I did about half of it. Like I said, I could feel things start to shift, right? New department head, she'd gotten there like 2 or 3 days before in-serve. New bosun that got in there during in-serve, right? And so things were starting to shift, right? And to be honest, and it wasn't quite fair to them, I did not have the energy anymore to go through that rebuilding of a new team, right? And I told the department head after just struggling to make that connection with her, I'm like, look, I'm transferring. I need you to start communicating with your divos, with your chiefs, and with your bosun, right? That's who I need you to start communicating with because it was not known when my relief was going to get there, right?
Yep.
And and for her, it felt like I was quitting, right? But Gary, I didn't have any more energy. I was done.
Bro, it was, I mean, again, we came from -5, right? Like you said, underground, like no one thought about us, to going green at in-serve, plus a whole bunch more accolades we're going to keep coming to the ship because they don't all come right away. It takes time for it to come out, right? But we know what we did, and it was exhausting. Okay, so I'm trying to remember one of my favorite sea stories for JB before we move out of the Ashland age and move on to the next thing. There was a berthing barge that we had to get off of one day because the XO said we had to get all the stuff off the berthing barge. Right? Remember that? It was the first day of the NAE inspection, the Edward F. NAE supply inspection. The enginemen were doing the light off assessment down in the engineering plant. And the next day they were taking away the berthing barge, or we had to get off the barge. And I had a first class petty officer very annoyed with his eval. And I remember Jeff comes up to my office. And he looks at his AMAS chief, can we get you to come down to the boat deck? We need something. And I was like, I can't right now. I'm talking to this guy. I never forget the look in your eyes. You're just like, you need to, I could tell something was going on. And then eventually Ty came up and was like, hey, I need you to come. It's way bad, way bad, way bad. And then of course they threw everything away in the trash cans. And I told that story somewhere else. But that was one of my favorite stories about you because I just remember you coming up there and being like, hey Gary, we need you to come down to the boat deck. Something's going on. That was one. And then my other favorite story about you was the night you and Chris Sheeran about took each other's heads off in the mess. and just the passion that goes into that, right? Because so unfortunately, we're operating off the coast of Australia. The USS Green Bay has an Osprey go off the back, off the fantail, and go upside down into the water. We lose 3 Marines that night. And we had to put together a watch bill that night to support looking for men overboard all night long. And I'd assembled the Chiefs mess into the Chiefs mess. I called the mess there. That's what I always did, right? Whenever I needed something, assemble the mess in the Chiefs mess, and we'd get it done. And I get down there, and as soon as I walk through the door, I got these 2 big burly senior chiefs coming at each other, and I got everyone else pulling in the other parts. And the selectees are like, "What the hell is going on?" And we figured it out. And we came through it. But those are you guys. What I loved about you guys is you guys cared enough to be willing to get to touch each other, right? You cared that much, and it wasn't like you didn't even have to like each other. Y'all just cared. And I love that about you guys, man. And I would never pick another group of guys to have done that 24. I only got 24 months on Ashland, but it was a great tour. Looking back on it, it was probably 2 of the best years of my Navy career for sure. And I think you'll look back whenever your time is said and done. You've already said it a few times that you don't know that you'll ever be able to beat that level again. And so you're probably looking forward. I mean, think about that. You've been a DLCPO now on an LHD, forward deployed. You've been a DLCPO now on an LSD that went green and in-serve across the board damn near, right? The whole ship. And you were a main player in that because you were also senior listed watchboat coordinator for a long period of time, right? You were
damn near 3 years.
Brother, 100%. Right. Yeah. But I mean, I also believe that the bosun mate should be that guy, right? I mean, because we're a deck driven ship and the top snipe's going to run his watches, but you got everybody else. And then but that gave you the ability to be a little more stronger and picking people out and moving them where you want them, right? Which I think worked out really, really good. So when you were getting ready to leave Ash, what were you looking at for orders?
So the entire time on Ashland, if I made Master Chief, CMC was the goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had conversations about it. That was the next thing. That was always going to be the next thing. But I was so exhausted. I knew if I went to CMC after that, I was not going to be able to put what I needed to into it, right?
100%.
And so I went to Millington. I was like, well, I'm going to go to Millington because I feel like I can learn a lot there. I feel like if I learn that part of the program, then when I do become a CMC, that's going to make me even stronger in being able to do certain things and all that.
And I remember you speaking that into existence because you told me before you even got the orders. Because I remember thinking like, oh, well, who do we email? Who do we talk to? How do we get that to work out? And then you did it. You got it. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I went and sat down with Miss Jarita Kearns, right? She was a retired ITCM. She came over for one of their CNP road shows. And I told her, I said, I want Millington. I don't care where. I don't care what. I want Millington. I'll do whatever. And she set me right next to her. She gave me a job sitting right next to her. And it was awesome. She was awesome.
What was that job?
I was the bosun mate and quartermaster rating evaluator. So I worked with the detailers. So I would set M&A every cycle for the billet advertisements. And then in between cycles, I would work with the detailers for any immediate avails for people coming off limb dues, spouse colos, stuff like that.
Okay. Hold on real quick. You made Master Chief on Ashland, right?
Yeah.
How was that feeling though to make Master Chief with your people?
What's that?
How was it to make Master Chief with your sailors? I mean, because you made Senior Chief after you left Essex, right?
No, it was awesome to have all them be a part of it, right? Because I don't think with everything that we all went through on Ashland, I think it would have been. I don't think it would have been as meaningful had I put it on after I left there, right? Having all those guys there and being able to, at least be a part of it, right? I think was great. I never know what to say in those moments. And, I don't even remember what I said, but just being there with them and having my family there, it was great.
I watched the Penning and the Chiefs mess. Right, I watched either the videos and that y'all put on Facebook, and I looked at all the
Yeah.
pictures online, looking to see. I mean, because I'm a fan, bro. I'm over there jumping up and down, hooping and hollering for you.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you? Who told you made Master Chief? How'd you find out?
So T let it slip, right? Not in so many words, but he had already transferred, and he was messaging me at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I knew he already knew something, right? So I was on my way in to a VTC for InServe, and Commander Wasson is the one that told me. Right, they just started clapping as I walked in for the VTC,
Oh man,
that's how. And
awesome.
I walked out. I turned around, walked out, and called Samantha. So
That's it. That's huge, man. Look, 1% of the Navy can promote to Master Chief. I had a gentleman the other day. I was doing a meeting with him, and he said, "Gary, what are the odds of a person making Master Chief?" I said, "Look, they'll tell you 1%, but think about this: the person has to join the Navy, stay in the Navy the whole way, and then make it to Master Chief. I'll bet you that number is much lower than 1%. It's only 1% total
yeah,
sailors at all times."
yeah. I mean, there's only 23 or 24 some odd BMCMs in the Navy, right? Yeah. And look, I've been very fortunate. I've been in some situations that I probably wouldn't wish to be in again, but they helped me along the way for sure. But I made BMCM in 16 years, right? When Senior Chief was my goal,
bro.
right?
You're a freaking beast, bro. You are a bad man. And it's okay to say that, dude, because as anyone listens to this story, there's no denying the work you put in. And I don't just say that about everybody. I really don't. I do not give everyone that level of props. And I will tell you, I respect it. You are the freaking man, bro. Okay, I'm going to get off that soapbox now because you know you're great. So you want to go to Millington. You get to go to Millington. How much did you enjoy Tennessee? Like, that's a great place to live.
So we loved it there, right?
Yeah.
I enjoyed the job, right? And I didn't give it like I was not. You would not have recognized me in Millington, Tennessee, right? I didn't talk to people. I was not. Yeah, my wife calls me antisocial, right? But I was not. I was not my typical self, right? And I had a lot of recovery to do from that time on the Ashland, right? I had to heal a little bit myself. And so I spent a lot of time, learning the job, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with people to make sure, I could keep the rate as healthy as possible on where people needed to go. And, obviously people weren't always happy with what I had to say and, and all that stuff, but I enjoyed the job and I thought it was important. Personally, that was a great stop. It was a great place to go after Ashland to kind of, take some time. Right.
Yeah.
Professionally, I mean, I don't know what else I could have done. Right. I mean, for me, that's where I wanted to be. So I was happy being there. Yep. And then, and then COVID hit. Right. So I didn't get to my last year and a half there. I'm teleworking 4 days a week. So
that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. So that changes the whole dynamic. Now the kids are at home from school. You're there with the kids. I mean, that's all great things, but then you're not getting that experience to do what you were enjoying doing in the office for your last year. Yeah, that makes. Yeah,
because I had became the 4013, and I mean there were people checking in and out of my department that, dude, I didn't meet them, and I was their LCPO because of telework, right? And I would go in and we would be on different schedules, and they would be there 3 or 4 months before I was able finally to sit down and have a conversation with them face to face.
Yeah. And so as you're wrapping up that tour, and you're probably getting about 19 years, right? Because you said you made Chief and Master Chief in 16 and a half. You're getting about 19. You got some get well time. What were you thinking about doing after Millington?
So I'd had it planned to go to the Kearsarge out of Virginia, right? That lined up perfectly with my PRD. And then during COVID, we lost 6 BMCM billets during COVID. BHR was one of them when it burned. And then all the Mark 6 Riverine billets went away.
Yep, I gotcha. All right, so you were telling me about how you lost the billets throughout the Navy, the BHR, you lost some of the Mark 7 boats,
Yeah.
and you were looking at the Kearsarge, and you were looking at billets.
Yeah, and as we lost those billets, I had to send other BMCMs to other and so Kearsarge got taken, right? And so I'm looking around, and there's a BMCM billet in Yokosuka, Japan, right, for the brig. I was like, okay, I'll do that. I love Japan. I'll go back over there. Because there's only, for sea duty, there's only LHDs. That's it for BMCM, right?
Yeah.
Or LCACs. And I didn't care anything about doing LCAC, right? I don't even think I would pass the screening now. So I was like, I'll go do the brig, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm the brig OIC, and have been for 3.5 years. I got a year left. We extended for my oldest to be able to graduate high school before we transfer again.
Very cool, man. I think when I look back on my career, when I made Master Chief, yeah, there's nothing wrong with marinating, bro, and enjoying the ride. There's really not, and taking good jobs, right? You took a BMCM billet. I mean, leading the brig has got to be a tough duty station, right? Because you got to
it's not easy. Because I'm gonna tell you, like, look, I didn't know anything about running a brig, right?
Yeah.
I go, like, the school for me was the same school as the guy that I have standing watch over the prisoners, right? I didn't get any kind of special school, so I had to sit down and look. A lot of it is about basic common sense when it comes to leadership, right? When you make decisions, right? Educated guesses, right? To be honest, right? And you like anything else, I sit down and I talk to people. I talk to my team, and this is what's in black and white. And black and white doesn't always tell me what I'm supposed to do in this exact circumstance, right? But it gets me pretty close. I'm in spitting distance, so I can talk to my guys. This is this is what's going to get us there, right?
Yeah.
And it's been great. I've had some characters, right? And I've had some it's sad cases, and it is what it is.
Yeah. How has it been back in Yokosuka on the waterfront? That's your first time in Yokosuka, right?
Yeah, it's first time stationed up here. Yeah.
Do you how much different is it being stationed up there than being stationed in Sasebo?
It's a lot different. I mean, obviously, Sasebo is smaller community, and it's been up here in Yokosuka, just a lot more people. A lot more people get offended up here than what they did down in Sasebo. A lot more complaining about this and that. Because don't forget, right? The new CO got here about 6 months after I did. And then about a year after that, he made me his at base XO, right? So here I am as a BMCM, and I'm the base XO. And the XO we had transferred. They hadn't identified her relief. And, when you're in installation, most of your officers are chaplains, and your senior officers are PWO. Your senior officers are PWO. So he's like, Master Chief, you're my XO. And I was like, okay, all right.
I was an installation master chief for my last tour. And talk about a goat row, bro. CNIC is a shit show.
It's tough. And I'll tell you,
people think you have all these people and you have nobody.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, with the CO, his process is to talk through things, and that's my process too. Right. No matter how many times we talk about it, that's his process, is to talk through it. So me and him got along really well, and we were able to sit there and have conversations about stuff. I mean, with the things that me and Samantha are going through now, he's got a power of attorney over my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, tell me that.
So it's I couldn't ask for anything better. And I I don't know this for sure, right? But I may be the only BMCM who has an acting CO letter over a major installation, right?
I very highly believe you are. I'm pretty comfortable in saying I agree.
It's not standard, right? But that's the way this guy leads, and it's great, right? And everybody is a part of it.
And it's not just any base, right? It's freaking Yokosuka Naval.
Yeah,
like it's
home of the 7th Fleet.
Yeah, that's a big base. So how's the CMC feel having an XO at Master Chief? How's that work?
It was great, right? Me and him would joke around. Like, look, to be honest with you, the wardroom was awesome about it too, right?
Yeah.
And so the CMC and the XO billet were both gapped. So the MACM was the CMC and I was the XO, right? Oh. And then the new CMC got here and I'm still the XO for a few months until the new one gets here. And it was just teamwork, man. It's never about ego, right? It's all about how Dennis Hunt is the base CMC. And me and him have a great relationship, right? And we have conversations, and I'm still in the triad chat, even though I'm not a member of the triad, right? I'm still in it, and we still have conversations and all these things. Yeah. They even after my stint as the XO, they made me the installation N9 for a little while, right? Yeah. So here I am running MWR and Fleet and Family and all these other programs, and that was harder than being the XO.
Are you still running the brig too?
I was still doing the brig stuff, right? And but it is what it is. That's the life of the military we live in now.
It is, and I'm sure with you having another year and a half there, they're probably very thankful to have you available to be on the team because you bring a lot of corporate knowledge, you bring a lot of experience. Another thing, what I love about Master Chiefs. And this is what makes Master Chiefs different than the other people in the Chiefs mess. And this is just a true statement. The only dog they really have in the fight is the best of the command, at least in my opinion. None of them are trying to make E10, nope. But the ones that are, that's not a thing, bro. Like we all know that. And
it was difficult in Millington, right? Because look, just with my code alone, I had 9 Master Chiefs in my code alone, right? Yeah. So. A lot of egos there and a lot to deal with, right? But for the most part, everybody comes together to do what's best.
Yep. So when I left Ashland, I went to 7th Fleet. Every one of my DLCPOs was a Master Chief.
Yeah.
Right. So and every one of my department heads was an 06 post-tour major commander.
Yep.
Right. So that was something, right? Trust. Woo. And then when I got to Naval Base Guam. Of course, every tenant command is a command master chief.
Yeah.
Right. They're all cookied up. They're literally in the program. Right. We're all peers, and that's great because I love that. You know how I get down. Like we could all lock each other in the Chiefs mess and fight. Like whatever. We could talk it out. We could fight it out. Gary Wise is down for whatever way you want to go.
Yeah.
But what I found is authenticity is almost always what works. Right. Being authentic and helping them have the conversations will win. So, all right, JB, we're about to wrap this up, bro. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you what you're going to do next yet. You got a year left at Yokosuka, so I'll let you enjoy that year as you plot and plan and figure out where you want to go next with your life. Because I'm curious, but I'll let that one stew for a little bit while you guys figure out life for a little bit, right? All right. So I have some rapid fire questions that I typically ask people at the end of these things. And the idea here is hopefully you don't have to think about it too hard, right? Ready?
Sure. Yep.
All right. So what do you believe is the most valuable leadership lesson you picked up on your time on this earth?
I think being honest up front, right? Managing expectations.
Yep. Good. Honesty up front, managing expectations. And that's for everybody, right? Both up and down. Right? Yeah.
I think that's our job. I think that's our job as senior enlisted leaders, right? Everybody's got to hear the truth, no matter how ugly it is.
I had another guy I had a conversation with the other day, and he says, Gary, I don't got no problem saying yes to my boss as long as they understand the cost. We can do almost anything. Are you ready to pay the cost? This is what it's going to cost to get there.
Not a no but, it's a yes if.
That's a good one. I like that. That's great. That's a yes if. Okay, next up. What is the biggest leadership challenge you see facing people today?
I think just the unknown and everything that's going on, right? Um, People are people, right? I don't think these young sailors are any different than what we were. I think it's just programs are always changing, things are always being added. We don't know today what's going to change tomorrow, and it's rapid pace.
Yep. And that's the job, right? That's life. Uh, I even tell that to the students. Like I tell the students, if you're not exhausted going to high school, you're not doing it right. Like high school is not supposed to be easy too. It's supposed to be challenging
Yeah,
and make and take because I feel like if you're living a life where you're just always like, oh my God, my life is so great, and you're not a little bit tired, I don't feel like you're trying hard enough to live your life and be
yeah.
enthusiastic.
I,
You know,
I
I'm
tell
not
my
saying,
I tell my teenagers now, if you don't develop good habits now, when are you going to?
oh, bar, that was good. You know, and the next question I was going to ask you was how can parents use leadership skills to better connect with their teenagers, right? Because
I struggle with that, Gary. I'm gonna tell you right now, and I've talked to my wife. Sometimes I feel like I'm easier on the semen that works for me than I am on kids. Right?
that's the challenge. That's the
Um,
challenge, Jeff. I'm with you. That's the challenge. We're so used to taking young Americans and turning them into warfighters, sailors, professional mariners that go to sea, right? And then our children are not that.
yeah,
And it's hard, man. My Erica's had to put me back in the box many times and be like, he's not a sailor, like he's not one of your people there. Um, but everything you just said, I think is for me is exactly what works. And I will tell you, now that I'm in this position where I'm teaching high school kids, God, it's they are freaking motivators, bro.
yeah,
They get after it. And my son is the CMC this year of my battalion, and it's stiff competition. And that
yeah,
competition has made him better, right?
yeah.
It's made him better. But then high school's over, and what are you gonna do next, right? Here we go. We gotta
Right.
figure that part out.
Yep.
Okay. If you knew somebody struggling in an organization, like for example, with a department head they don't get along with, and they're yelling at each other on the first day, right? Um, and now you've been an XO of a command, right? So you've got a few different perspectives of how to look at this now. You've been a senior enlisted leader, you've been an XO, you've been a departmental CPO. What advice would you give to a person struggling?
I think you mean how would I get them to come together better as a team or just on an individual basis?
On an individual basis, what would you tell that person individually to help them get through that time?
I think just remember their why, right? Because I think
Sure.
and just remember your why. Remember everybody is coming from a place of wanting it to be successful, right? I've only ever met one person that just openly said they wanted it to fail, right? I've never met anybody that didn't want it to be the best they could possibly make it, right? And I think if you can approach it that way with whoever you're having conflict with and have those conversations, I think it'll help a lot, right? And you may never like each other, you may never come to agree on how things are going to go, but I've had to learn that sometimes I got to let other people influence it.
Yeah, it doesn't always got to be you. I understand that. Okay, a little bit more fun questions now. It's the weekend. It's Saturday night. We're going to the Chiefs mess. We're going to watch some Sons of Anarchy. Are you looking forward to the pizza or the wings?
Pizza.
Pizza. I like it. Okay, you got two choices. Which one do you want? Do you want the birthing cleaners or the working party?
Working party.
I love it. If we're gonna watch a movie in the mess, would you rather watch a De Niro movie or a Pacino movie?
De Niro.
De Niro, okay. Looking back on your career, bro, what's been your favorite duty station?
I think, to be honest with you, I think the one I'm at right now, and you can very seldom say that, right? But I think being at the Brig has just been such a different beast to where I was not trained for it, right? I have to constantly be in the book, and I have to constantly be thinking, what if, right? And I do that. And the senior chief that I have with me, he's like, man, it's like you see these things coming. I was like, dude, I just sit there and play in my head, what if, right? Because most of your days are very quiet, they're very calm, and then you're going to have a day that's not, right? So I just run it through.
It's just your experience shining through, man. That's what it is. It's the years of experience. And I will tell you, my favorite part about going CMC was the change of pace, the change of perspective. And that's what you're kind of getting on this Brig tour, because you're getting a whole different leadership opportunity. And that's great. It's great experience for you. And no matter what you choose to do after this, right? Period. I mean, honestly, you could probably get out of the Navy, go get a nice high-flying GS, whatever job at an installation now.
Yeah. Well, there's been offers.
Ops. I can see it now. Port operations, calling your name. There's been offers. Brother, I can imagine it. I really could. And Naval Base Guam is always hiring.
Yeah.
All right, next up. What was the most challenging qualification you've ever achieved in your career?
Craftmaster. My Craftmaster pin.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. I think I know your answer to this question, but I'm going to give it to you again. Would you rather be overseas or stateside?
Overseas.
What is it about overseas that you like so much? I know what I like.
Right now, it's used to, it was the money. It was better money, right? It was easier to save. Now it's just safer for my kids. They can be kids over here, right? They can grow up and not have to worry about everything that's going on in social media and everything else, right? They can just be kids.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a small town vibe for sure. I get it, man. That was like one of the biggest fears we had when we left Guam, and we hung it up and we retired, right?
Yeah.
And and that's why I came to, thank God for Ocala, Florida. It's great. Moving on. What was your favorite movie series?
Favorite movie series?
Yeah. I would say trilogy, but now they're like movie series.
I don't know. I watch more TV shows than I do movies, right? I watched all the Avengers stuff with my kids, right? They were huge into it, especially my oldest one. So I guess just for, relationships with him, I'll say the whole Avengers all the way through. But I'm more of I'd rather watch a TV show than a movie.
To this day, bro, I have this box that I got at my house where it plays like Sons of Anarchy games that throw on 24 hours a day. Yeah. And I'll just put it on wherever it's at and just watch it and be like, man, I miss those days of just walking in, laying on that little short blue couch and just being in the mess, right? And just, God, I miss that. Anyway, I always wonder what the Ashland mess looks like now. Wonder if they ever changed it around.
Well, I'm sure they did.
I don't know, man. We had it decorated pretty good up in there. Hey, would you rather be independent, Jeff, or on a team?
On a team, right? Because like you said it earlier, I'm very competitive, right? So when I'm by myself, I just get it done and move on. But when I'm on a team, I'll be competitive internally, right? I'll watch what other people are doing, and I was like, I can do that better. And I won't let it turn toxic, right? I won't talk trash. I won't do all those things, but it makes me better.
It's your self-talk, bro. It's your self. My younger son is just like that. And personally, I feel the same way, right? I just have that inner self-talk. And my wife's toxic trait says she'll watch, like, I showed her a video of a little girl doing barrel racing on a horse, right? And my wife was like, my toxic trait is I think I can do that. and I think that you feel that way. You look at things, you're like, I could probably do that. I could probably do that better than that guy too. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Personal leadership philosophy. Do you have one?
For me, I think it's hard to see myself as a good leader, right? Because I'm always trying to reflect on how I can get better. When you leave a command and you look back and you're like, man, how could I have done certain things better, right? Yeah. And you focus. And for me, I focus more on the relationships with the sailor that I didn't get along with or couldn't make him feel like he was on my team or whatever, right? Those are the ones I focus on. So for me, it's hard to, ever feel like I've done enough. But I'm going to work harder than the other guy, right? And I'm going to do my best to find that happy middle ground of taking care of the sailor and making sure the command is successful, right? And sometimes one's a little heavier than the other.
Okay. I mean, but you always manage to get your team to do good together as well, though. So even though you have that perspective, you also communicate in such a way that the guys come together. So there's got to be a way that they buy in. Have you ever thought that what is it that you're saying that helps them to do that buy-in?
I hope it's just that I'm honest. I'll tell them this is about to be hard, right? We're about to go through it, right?
Yeah.
And even after I left the Ashland, I would find some comments on Facebook on a picture, right? And people would be saying things that I would be saying, right? They would be saying it, right? And to me, that's just manage expectations, man. Like they got to know. Because one thing I hated when I was a junior sailor is I had a chief that always talked about the light at the end of the tunnel. I never saw that damn light because it was always the same thing. But, it's for me, it's not about – look, the worst thing you can do is whipsaw people, right? Steady strain, right? And if you allow them to expect to get off at 1,300 every day, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
Right? Steady strain. It ain't got to be till dark every night, but – it needs to be a solid effort.
100%, man. Definitely. Okay. We got deck plate leadership, institutional technical expertise, professionalism, character, loyalty, active communication, and a sense of heritage. Those are the chief petty officers, mission, vision, guiding principles. Which one of those is your favorite?
Character.
Okay. Period, right? Character.
Okay.
I like it. All right. Would you rather lead or follow?
At work, I'd rather lead. At home, I'd rather Samantha make some decisions every once in a while. No, but I look, I'd rather make the decisions for myself. If something's got to be done, I want to be the one to make the decisions.
Okay.
Right. Because if I'm going to own it, then let me own it.
Yep, all day. All right, my guy, that is it. Do you have any save rounds or alibis?
No, I mean, I kind of dropped it already, right? But if you're going to have your students watch this, I would just tell them, right, whatever habits you get into now as an adult, you're only going to build on those, right? So if you develop good habits now, you're going to have good habits later on, right? It's harder to build on bad habits.
Yeah, huge. Man, Jeff, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you joining us and talking to the people. Thank you very much for sharing your story and your perspectives. And I wish nothing but the best for you and Sam and all the boys. And just, I hope y'all get back to Yoko safely and y'all just have a great freaking year. And that just God is good to y'all, man. That's what I hope.
I appreciate it, Gary.
You are welcome, bro. Thank you again for your time. Everybody, if you like this stuff, do me a favor, check us out, like and subscribe, and that is it. I'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, brother. We'll see you.
Bye.
And I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. Don't care for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this.